The Xylothian War Council never lost. Not once. Not in 6,000 years of galactic conquest. Their war beasts had cracked the shells of 14 civilizations, torn through the psychic defenses of the Viridians, and drowned the flame worlds of the Pyre in their own molten cores. So when they found Earth, a blue marble orbited by a single gray rock, inhabited by soft-bodied primates who still used fossil fuels, they laughed. The laughter stopped 3 weeks later. But that's not where this story begins. It begins with a cage, a girl, and the most terrifying thing the galaxy had ever bred, discovering something its creators never intended. Something inconvenient, something soft, something that would make the Xylothian Empire very, very nervous. The cage was too small. That was the first thing Mira noticed when they shoved her through the airlock. The second thing was the smell, ammonia and ozone and something ancient, something that had been breathing its own fear for so long the fear had crystallized into the walls. The third thing was the eyes. 4 of them, amber, slit-pupiled, watching her from the dark. "Enjoy your stay," the Xylothian guard said, and his translator chittered the words in a frequency that made Myra's fillings ache. "The specimen has not eaten in 7 cycles. It should be sufficiently motivated." The airlock sealed behind her. Mira pressed her back against the cold metal and told herself the shaking was from the temperature. The cell was maybe 15 feet by 15 feet. The ceiling dripped something viscous. In the corner, a water dispenser gurgled like it was dying. And in the opposite corner, the thing shifted. She heard it before she saw it clearly. The scrape of claws on alloy flooring, the heavy drag of something large repositioning itself, the wet click of a mouth opening and closing. Testing the air. Tasting her. "You're an anthropologist," she told herself. "You asked for this posting. You knew the risks. You signed 17 waivers. The waivers hadn't mentioned the eyes." "Hello," she said. Her voice cracked on the second syllable. The thing stopped moving. Silence. Then a sound like rocks grinding together, low and deep and resonant. It took her a moment to realize it was breathing. Slow, deliberate, like it was trying to decide if she was worth the calories required to kill her. Myra's hand found her belt. She had 3 things: a translation patch glued to her throat, a ration bar that tasted like cardboard soaked in vitamins, and a Xylothian-issued emergency beacon that would summon guards if she screamed loud enough. The beacon was a lie. Everyone knew the guards came when they felt like it, and right now, they felt like watching. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay. Think." The anthropologists before her, the ones who'd volunteered for the Xylothian Cultural Exchange Program, had sent back exactly 2 messages before going silent. The first had been about the war beast's intelligence. The second had been cut off mid-sentence. "They're not just animals," the last message said. "There's something else. Something the Xylothians don't understand. They think they've bred obedience, but what they've actually bred is static." Mira had played that recording 47 times on the transport ship. Each time, she'd try to fill in the blank. Isolation, desperation, rage. None of them felt right. The thing in the corner moved again. Light from somewhere, a crack in the ceiling, a maintenance seam, caught its hide. It was the color of old blood and new bruises, a shifting purple-black that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Armor plating along its spine. A tail that ended in something that wasn't quite a blade and wasn't quite a whip. For legs, muscled like suspension cables. And a head that, Myra's brain refused to process the head. Too many angles. Too many teeth. A jaw that unhinged like a snake's, but how something that looked almost like intelligence behind those 4 amber eyes. "The Xylothians call you the karate," she said, because talking was better than screaming. "It means that which ends." In their language, the word doesn't have a plural form. There's only one of you. Ever. The karate blinked. One eye at a time, like a lizard. "There used to be more," Mira continued. "You were bred from something the Xylothians found on a dead world. Something that had survived its own extinction. They took that thing, and they made it bigger, stronger, meaner. They made it so it couldn't feel pain, couldn't feel fear, couldn't feel anything except hunger and the need to kill. She paused. But that's not true, is it? The karate's breathing changed. Faster now. Not aggressive, curious. The way a cat's tail twitches when it's deciding whether to pounce or walk away. Mira took a step forward. Her legs didn't want to, but she made them. One step, then another. I've read every file, she said. Every observation log. Every combat recording. The Xylothians think you're perfect because you don't hesitate. Because you don't feel mercy. But I've been watching the footage and here's what I noticed. She was close enough now to see the scars. Hundreds of them. Thousands. Some were old and faded to silver. Others were fresh, the edges still puckered, still leaking something that wasn't quite blood. The karate had been whipped, branded, injected with God knows what. The Xylothians didn't just train their war beasts, they tortured them. Constantly. Because the only way to keep something that powerful under control was to make it afraid. Except the karate didn't look afraid. It looked tired. You don't kill because you want to, Mira said. You kill because they hurt you if you don't. And somewhere along the line, you forgot there was any other option. The karate lowered its head. Not submissive, not aggressive, just watching. Those four amber eyes tracked her face, her hands, the way she kept her palms open and visible. You're not going to eat me, Mira said. It wasn't a question. The karate made a sound. Not the grinding rocks from before. Something softer. A whine almost. High-pitched and miserable, the kind of sound a dog makes when it's been left in the rain too long. Myra's heart did something complicated. Oh, she said. Oh, you poor thing. She sat down. Right there on the cold alloy floor, 10 feet from the most dangerous organism in the galaxy, and she sat down cross-legged like she was at a campfire. My name is Mira, she said. I'm from a planet called Earth. We're not very impressive, as far as the Xylothians are concerned. No psychic abilities. No energy weapons. No interstellar empire. Just a lot of stubborn primates who figured out how to split atoms before we figured out how to stop killing each other. The karate's tail twitched. The Xylothians brought me here to study you. They think if they understand how you think, they can breed a better version. Stronger. More obedient. She laughed, and it came out bitter. They don't realize I'm studying them too. And here's what I figure out. They're scared. Not of you. Of what you represent. She leaned forward. You're their greatest weapon, and they hate you for it. Because you remind them that they couldn't conquer the galaxy on their own. They needed to steal something from a dead world and twist it into something unnatural. You're their shame, karate. You're the thing they look at and see all the ways they've failed. The karate took a step forward. Mira didn't flinch. She wanted to. Every nerve in her body was screaming at her to run, to scream, to hit the beacon and beg the guards to let her out. But she'd seen the footage. She'd watched the karate tear through Xylothian soldiers like paper, and she noticed something the analysts had missed. It never attacked first. Every single recording, every battle, every demonstration, every accidental containment breach showed the same pattern. The karate would wait. It would let the enemy make the first move. And only when it had no other choice, only when the pain became too much or the orders too explicit, would it unleash what it had been bred to do. Can you understand me? Mira asked. The translation patch works both ways, supposedly. But I don't know if your species has the vocal cords for English. The karate opened its mouth. Mira expected a roar, a snarl, something terrifying and primal that would remind her exactly why she was supposed to be afraid. Instead, it said, hurt. One word, guttural, strained, like it was forcing sounds through a throat that wasn't designed for them. Myra's breath caught. You talk. Hurt, the karate repeated. Its tail lashed once, twice. Always hurt. Yeah, Mira said softly. I know. She reached into her pocket and pulled out the ration bar, held it up so the karate could see it. I'm going to put this on the floor, she said, and then I'm going to back up. You don't have to eat it, but it's yours if you want it. She set the bar down, stood up slowly, walked backward until her shoulders hit the far wall. The karate looked at the ration bar, looked at her, made that miserable whining sound again. Then it crept forward, not fast, Not aggressive. It moved like a wounded animal approaching a water source it wasn't sure was safe. One careful step at a time. Head low, eyes never leaving Myra's face. It reached the ration bar. Sniffed it. The bar was vacuum-sealed in plastic. The Xylothians didn't believe in biodegradable packaging, and the karate's tongue came out black and forked and touched the wrapper. Go ahead, Mira said. It's not much, but it's not poisoned. The Xylothians want you alive. They have another battle scheduled for next week. The karate's jaw unhinged. It ate the ration bar in one motion, wrapper and all, and then it looked at her again. Those eyes. 4 of them. Amber and ancient and so tired. More, it said. Mira shook her head. That's all I have. But I can ask the guards for more. Tomorrow, if they let me come back. The karate sat down. It was an oddly deliberate motion, like it had to think about each joint, each muscle. This was a body built for killing, not for sitting. But it managed. Come back, it said. Not a question. Not quite a command. Yeah, Mira said. I will. She pressed the beacon. The guard would come. They'd take her back to her quarters, and they'd debrief her, and they'd ask what she'd learned about the karate's weaknesses. She'd lie. She'd tell them it was just an animal, just a beast, just a weapon that didn't know any better. But she'd be lying, because what she'd learned, what she'd seen in those 4 amber eyes, was something the Xylothians had never bothered to look for. The karate wasn't a monster. It was a victim, a prisoner, a thing that had been hurt so many times it had forgotten what it felt like to be anything else. And Mira had a very bad feeling that she was about to do something incredibly stupid. The days blurred together after that. Mira visited the karate's cell every morning. The guards let her because they thought she was gathering data, and because the karate had stopped trying to kill her, which made their jobs easier. They didn't understand what was actually happening. They couldn't. Their entire civilization was built on the assumption that everything in the galaxy was either a tool to be used or an enemy to be destroyed. The karate had never been either. Not really. Mira brought food. Not just ration bars. She'd learned to trade with the kitchen staff, swapping earth trinkets for actual meat, actual vegetables, actual things that tasted like something other than cardboard, and despair. The karate ate everything she gave it. Slowly at first, then with something that looked almost like enthusiasm. Better, it said one day, after a particularly good meal of roasted vrak, some kind of 6-legged herd animal the Xylothians raised for meat. Yeah. Mira was sitting cross-legged in her usual spot, 10 feet away. She'd stopped keeping her back to the wall. What's better? Food, not hurt. The karate's voice was improving. It still sounded like rocks trying to sing, but the words were clearer now. More deliberate. You. Not hurt. Mira frowned. I'm not hurting you. Why would I hurt you? The karate tilted its head, all 4 eyes focusing on her face with an intensity that should have been terrifying. Everyone hurts, it said. Everyone. Always. Is rule. That's not a rule, Mira said. That's just what the Xylothians taught you. Because they're cruel. Because they wanted you to think there was no other way. The karate was quiet for a long time. Its tail wrapped around its own body, almost like it was hugging itself. Other way, it finally asked. Yeah. Mira leaned forward. There's always another way. It's harder. It's harder to be kind than it is to be cruel. Harder to trust than to fear. But it's possible. I promise you it's possible. The karate made that sound again. The whine. But different now. Less miserable. More hopeful? Mira wasn't sure. She wasn't sure the karate even knew what hope felt like. Show me, it said. And Mira did. She showed it how to play catch with a rolled-up sock. How to respond to her voice, not commands, just her voice the way she said its name. She started calling it Kai, because karate was a mouthful, and because giving something a name changed how you saw it. Kai wasn't a weapon. Kai was a person. A broken, traumatized, dangerous person, but a person nonetheless. Kai learned fast. Terrifyingly fast. Within 2 weeks, it understood English well enough to hold simple conversations. Within 3, it was asking questions. Why Xylothians hate me? Mira was drawing on the floor with a piece of chalk she'd smuggled in. A star chart of Earth's solar system, just to give Kai something to look at. They don't hate you, she said. They're afraid of you. There's a difference. Afraid? Yeah. Fear makes people do terrible things. It makes them hurt things they don't understand. It makes them lash out. He said thou like Xylothians not afraid. Xylothians strong. No, Mira said. They're not strong. They're powerful. There's a difference. Power is what you have. Strength is what you do with it. The Xylothians have all the power in the galaxy, and they use it to hurt people. That's not strength. That's weakness dressed up in armor. Kai processed that. Its eyes, those 4 amber eyes, tracked across the star chart, lingering on the tiny blue that represented Earth. Your people, Kai said. Weak. Mira laughed. Objectively? Yeah, we're soft. We can't breathe in vacuum. We can't survive radiation. We die if we don't eat for 3 weeks. We're basically just bags of water with anxiety. Anxiety, fear of the future, worrying about things that haven't happened yet. It's our superpower, honestly. We're so afraid of everything that we've gotten really good at solving problems before they kill us. Kai made a sound that might have been a laugh. It was hard to tell. The karate vocal range didn't include much humor, but the way its tail curled at the tip looked almost playful. Teach me, Kai said. Anxiety. I don't think that's something you can teach, Mira said. It's more of a side effect of having a soul. Soul. Mira hesitated. This was getting into territory she wasn't equipped for. She was an anthropologist, not a philosopher. But Kai was looking at her with something like trust, and she didn't want to break that. A soul it's the part of you that feels things, she said. The part that hurts when you're hurt. The part that wants things to be better. The Xylothians try to breed it out of you, but they couldn't. Because you're not a machine, Kai. You're alive. And being alive means feeling things, even when you don't want to. Kai was quiet for a long time. So long that Mira started to worry she'd said something wrong. Then Kai moved. Not fast. Not aggressive. It crossed the space between them in 3 careful steps and lowered its massive head until it was level with Myra's face. Those 4 amber eyes, inches from her own. The heat of its breath, smelling of ozone and cooked meat. The scrape of its scales against the floor. Feel, Kai said. Now, feel safe. Myra's throat tightened. Yeah, she whispered. Me too. She reached out, slowly, giving Kai every chance to pull away and touch the side of its face. The scales were warm. Smooth in some places, ridged in others. Scars upon scars upon scars. A lifetime of pain etched into every inch. Kai closed its eyes, all 4 of them, and leaned into her hand. The guard noticed something was wrong on day 28. Mira was in her quarters, reviewing her notes. She'd taken to writing everything in code, just in case, when the door slid open and 3 Xylothians walked in. They were tall, even by galactic standards, with chitinous exoskeletons and faces that didn't quite emote the way human faces did. Their translator units hummed. Anthropologist Mira, the lead one, said, Your observations have been inconsistent. Mira set down her pen. Inconsistent how? You report that the karate shows no signs of higher cognition. Yet our monitoring equipment detects vocalizations consistent with language acquisition. You report that the karate remains aggressive and unpredictable. Yet our behavioral analysis suggests the opposite. Myra's heart was pounding, but she kept her face neutral. The karate is a complex organism. My conclusions are preliminary. The High Command disagrees. The Xylothians stepped closer. They believe you're interfering with the specimen. Conditioning it. Making it docile. Docile? Mira laughed. Have you seen that thing? There's nothing docile about it. No, there isn't. The Xylothians' mandibles clicked. Which is why we find your reports so troubling. The karate is not supposed to be calm. It is not supposed to be trainable. It is supposed to be a weapon. Unpredictable, uncontrollable, useful only in its capacity for violence. Mira stood up. Maybe you bred it wrong. The room went very quiet. You are a primate from a pre-contact world, the Xylothian said slowly. You have no weapons, no allies, no value to the Empire except as a pair of eyes and a functioning brain. Do not mistake our tolerance for patience. I'm not mistaking anything, Mira said. I'm telling you the truth. You wanted a monster, and you got one. But monsters aren't born, they're made. And the thing you made? It's starting to remember what it was before you broke it. The Xylothians exchanged glances. Their translator units buzzed with subvocal communication, frequencies too low for Mira to hear. You will cease your visits to the karate, the lead one said finally. Effective immediately. You will remain in your quarters until we decide what to do with you. And the karate? The karate will be recalibrated. Mira felt something cold settle in her chest. What does that mean? But the Xylothians were already leaving. The door slid shut behind them, and the lock engaged with a sound like a guillotine. Mira stood in the middle of her quarters, alone, and thought about four amber eyes. About a creature that had been hurt so many times it had forgotten what kindness felt like. About the way Kai had leaned into her hand, trusting her not to pull away. Okay, she whispered. Okay. She had 3 days until the next battle. 3 days until the Xylothians forced Kai back into the arena, back into the violence, back into the nightmare it had been bred for. 3 days to figure out how to save something that was never supposed to be saved. Mira smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. You wanted a monster, she said to the empty room. Let me show you what a real monster looks like. The Xylothian battle station was called the Hand of Vengeance. It was 3 miles across, shaped like a clenched fist, and crewed by 12,000 soldiers, scientists, and support staff. It had its own ecosystem, recycled air, recycled water, recycled hope, and it orbited a dead star that had gone dark 1,000,000 years before any of its current occupants were born. Mira had learned the layout during her first week. She'd studied the ventilation systems, the guard rotations, the blind spots, and the camera coverage. She'd done it because she was an anthropologist, and anthropologists studied everything, not just the things they were supposed to. Now that knowledge was going to get her killed. Or worse, the guards outside her door changed shifts every 6 hours. There was a 30-second gap between the old guard leaving and the new guard arriving, just enough time for someone fast and desperate to slip through. Mira had timed it. She'd practiced. She'd spent the last 3 days doing nothing but planning, preparing, and trying not to think about what would happen if she failed. The door unlocked. Mira moved. She was wearing the same clothes she'd arrived in. Practical, nondescript, perfect for blending in. Her translation patch was glued to her throat, warm against her skin. In her pocket, she had a stolen security card, a handful of ration bars, and a data chip containing everything she'd learned about the karate. The corridor was empty. The guards were still walking away, their footsteps fading into the distance. Mira ran. The karate cell was on level 7 in the bowels of the station. The Xylothians kept it there because the radiation from the dead star interfered with its natural healing abilities, a failsafe in case it ever broke loose. Mira had learned that from a drunk engineer on her 3rd night. The engineer hadn't remembered the conversation the next morning. Mira had remembered every word. She reached the elevator bank and swiped the stolen card. The doors opened. She stepped inside and pressed the button for level 7. The elevator dropped. Mira closed her eyes and counted her heartbeats. 112 by the time the doors opened again. Level 7 was dark. The Xylothians didn't waste energy on lighting for prisoners. Mira pulled out her pocket light, a tiny LED she'd scavenged from a broken console, and swept the beam across the corridor. The smell hit her first. Ammonia and ozone and blood. So much blood. The walls were stained with it, old and new. Layer upon layer of pain dried into the metal. Kai, she called softly. Kai, it's me. It's Mira. Silence. Then, the sound of claws on alloy. Mira followed the sound. Past cell after cell, all of them empty. The karate was the only prisoner on this level because the Xylothians didn't want anything else getting close to it. Past a guard station that was supposed to be manned but wasn't because the guards had learned that the karate was quiet between battles and they had better things to do. She found a cell at the end of the corridor. The same cell they'd shoved her into 30 days ago. The same cell where she'd sat cross-legged on the cold floor and talked to a monster. The door was open. No, not open. The door was gone, torn from its hinges and thrown down the corridor like a piece of paper. Key. Mira stepped inside. The cell was empty. The karate was gone. But there was something on the floor, something that hadn't been there before. Mira knelt down and picked it up, a piece of chalk. The same piece of chalk she'd used to draw the star chart. And next to it, scratched into the metal in crude, desperate letters. They always hurt where you Myra's hands were shaking. She tucked the chalk into her pocket and stood up. Okay, she said. Okay. Think. The battle was scheduled for tomorrow. The karate would be in the arena, facing whatever the Xylothians had brought to kill it. But if the cell door was torn off its hinges, if Kai was already loose, then something had gone wrong. Something had changed. The floor trembled. Mira grabbed the wall to steady herself. The tremor wasn't an earthquake. There were no earthquakes in space. It was something else. Something heavy, moving fast, somewhere above her. The karate wasn't in the arena. The karate was hunting. Mira ran. Not away. Toward. Because she was an idiot. Because she was the only person on this station who might be able to stop what was about to happen. Because Kai had trusted her, and she wasn't about to betray that trust just because the situation had gone sideways. The elevator was still there. Mira jumped inside and pressed the button for the main level. Level 1, where the command center was, where the arena was, where all the people were. The elevator rose. The floor trembled again, harder this time. Somewhere above her, something screamed. Not the karate. The karate didn't scream. The karate killed in silence. No, those were Xylothian screams. Dozens of them. Hundreds. The elevator doors opened. Mira stepped into hell. The main level was a slaughterhouse. Bodies everywhere. Xylothian bodies, torn apart with surgical precision. Not random violence. Not mindless rage. Every wound was deliberate, every kill efficient. The karate had learned from its battles, had adapted, had become something even the Xylothians hadn't anticipated. It wasn't just killing anymore. It was making a point. Mira stepped over a body. The chitin was still warm, the fluids still leaking, and followed the trail of destruction. Through the command center, where consoles sparked and smoked. Through the mess hall, where tables had been overturned and food still steamed on the floor. Through the barracks, where the karate had found the soldiers while they slept. She found Kai in the arena. The doors were open, torn open, just like the cell door, and the karate was standing in the center of the sand, surrounded by bodies. Dozens of bodies. The Xylothians had tried to stop it with projectile weapons, energy rifles, even some kind of gas that was supposed to paralyze the nervous system. None of it had worked. Kai was bleeding, wounded in a dozen places. One of its 4 eyes was swollen shut, and its tail hung at an awkward angle, probably broken. But it was still standing, still breathing, still watching the door with its 3 remaining eyes. Mira, it said. The voice was different, deeper, rougher, like it had been screaming. Mira walked forward slowly, hands out, palms open. Kai, it's okay. It's me. Not okay. Kai's tail lashed, winced when the broken bone grated. They hurt. They always hurt. Try to stop hurting. Try to be good. But they hurt anyway. I know. Mira kept walking. 10 feet away now. 5. I know they did, Kai. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I wasn't here. You came back. Not a question. A statement. Like Kai had never doubted it. Of course I came back. I told you I would. Kai made that sound again. The whine. But different now. Not miserable. Not hopeful. Something else. Something Mira didn't have a word for. Kill them, Kai said. All of them. Everyone who hurt. Yeah, Mira said. You could. You probably will. You're the most dangerous thing in the galaxy, Kai. There's nothing on this station that can stop you. Kai's head lowered. Those amber eyes, 3 of them now, one still swollen shut, fixed on Myra's face. You'd said. You stopped me. No. Mira shook her head. I'm not going to stop you. I'm going to ask you to stop yourself. Why? Because killing them won't make the hurt go away. It'll just make more hurt. And you've had enough of that. You've earned the right to something better. Kai was quiet. The station was quiet too. The screams had stopped, replaced by the distant wail of alarms and the crackle of fires. But here, in the arena, there was only the two of them. The monster and the anthropologist. The weapon and the woman who'd refused to be afraid. Better, Kai said. What is better? Mira smiled. It was a sad smile, the kind that came from knowing too much and being able to do too little. I don't know, she said, but we can find out together. If you want. Kai took a step forward. Then another. Then it was close enough that Mira could feel the heat of its body, could smell the blood and the ozone and the ancient pain. Together, Kai said. It lowered its massive head until it was level with Myra's face. Those three amber eyes, inches from her own, the heat of its breath, the weight of everything it had been and everything it could become. Mira reached out and touched its face, the same way she'd done in the cell weeks ago. The same gentle touch, the same open hand. Kai closed its eyes, all three of them, and leaned into her hand. The Xylothians didn't know what to do. Mira had led Kai back to its cell. Not because it needed to be contained, but because the cell was the only place on the station where they wouldn't be constantly watched. The door was still gone, torn off its hinges, but Kai didn't try to leave. It curled up in the corner, the same corner where it had hidden on that first day, and watched Mira with its three remaining eyes. The fourth eye was healing. Slowly. The karate's regeneration was impressive, even through the radiation interference. They're going to come for us, Mira said. She was sitting cross-legged on the floor, the same spot she'd always sat. The High Command. They're not going to let this slide. You killed a lot of their people. Deserve, Kai said. Maybe. Probably. But that doesn't change the fact that they're going to want revenge. And they're going to come here with more soldiers, more weapons, more everything. They're not going to stop until one of us is dead. Kai's tail curled around its body. Then we fight. No. Mira shook her head. That's what they want. That's what they've always wanted. You fight, you kill, you prove that you're exactly what they made you. A weapon. A monster. A thing. What else? Mira was quiet for a long time. The station hummed around them. The ventilation, the power systems, the distant sound of alarms still wailing. Somewhere above them, the Xylothians were panicking. Somewhere above them, the High Command was making decisions that would affect the fate of everyone on this station. I have an idea, Mira said finally. It's a stupid idea. It's probably going to get us both killed. Kai's head tilted. Tell me, there's a ship in the docking bay. The Xylothians use it for long-range reconnaissance. It's fast, it's shielded, and it's got enough fuel to get us out of this system. Where? Mira pulled out the data chip, the one containing everything she'd learned about the karate. She held it up so Kai could see it. There's a planet, she said, about 3 weeks from here. It's not on any Xylothian maps. The Viridians told me about it before the Xylothians conquered them. It's empty. No civilization. No resources worth fighting over. Just forests and oceans and mountains and sky. Kai's breathing changed. Faster now. Agitated. Why? Because you deserve to see what a world looks like when no one's trying to hurt you, Mira said. Because you deserve to run without chains. Because you deserve to feel the sun on your face and the rain on your scales and not have to worry about whether someone's going to stick a needle in your neck. Kai was shaking, the whole massive body, trembling like a leaf in a storm. Mira, it said. Mira, what? Because you're not a monster, Kai. You were never a monster. You were just a creature who got hurt so badly you forgot you were anything else. And I can't fix that. I can't undo what they did to you. But I can give you a chance. A real chance. To be something new. Kai made a sound. Not a whine this time. Not a growl. Something Mira had never heard before. Something the karate vocal range probably wasn't supposed to produce. Asobi. Kai was crying. Mira stood up, walked across the cell, sat down next to Kai's massive body and leaned against its side. The scales were warm. The heart beneath them was beating too fast, a hummingbird rhythm that didn't match the creature's size. It's okay, she whispered. It's okay. You're allowed to be scared. You're allowed to be sad. You're allowed to feel things, Kai. That's what being alive means. Kai's head came down, resting on the floor next to Mira. Those three amber eyes, what with something that wasn't quite tears, stared at her. Together, Kai said. Yeah. Mira put her hand on its snout. Together. The docking bay was chaos. The Xylothians had lost control of the station, but they hadn't lost their ability to make bad decisions. The High Command had ordered a full lockdown. All ships grounded, all personnel confined to quarters, but the order had come too late. The Karate's rampage had broken too many systems, killed too many soldiers, left too many gaps in the chain of command. Mira moved through the chaos like a ghost. She'd learned the station's blind spots during her weeks of observation. The camera coverage, the guard rotations, the emergency protocols. She knew where to go and when to go there. She knew how to disappear. Kai was harder to hide. The Karate was the size of a small car, covered in scars and scales and eyes that glowed in the dark. It couldn't blend in. It couldn't pretend to be anything other than what it was. But it could be quiet. Mira had taught it that. How to move without making noise. How to breathe without hissing. How to stay in the shadows and wait. The Xylothians were terrified. They'd seen what the Karate could do. They'd heard the screams. And terror made them sloppy. The docking bay doors were supposed to be guarded by 12 soldiers. Mira counted 4. Kai, she whispered, can you take them without killing them? He said that like, why? Because we're not monsters. Remember? Kai was quiet for a long moment. Then it moved. Fussed. Silent. A blur of purple-black scales and amber eyes. The 4 soldiers didn't even have time to scream. Kai hit them like a wave. Not killing, not even hurting, just disabling. A swipe of the tail that knocked weapons from hands. A shoulder check that sent bodies flying. A hiss that made the soldiers freeze, their primitive hindbrains recognizing a predator they couldn't fight. By the time Mira caught up, all 4 soldiers were on the ground, unconscious but alive. Good, she said. That was good, Kai. He said that goulet. Pleasure? Pride? Mira wasn't sure. But it was something. The ship was exactly where the drunk engineer had said it would be. A sleek, silver needle tucked into the far corner of the docking bay. The reconnaissance vessel was designed for speed, not combat. It had a crew of 2, a cargo hold that could fit maybe 10 people, and a navigation system that was supposed to be unhackable. Mira had spent her 3 days in confinement learning how to hack it. Get in, she said, climbing through the airlock. Quickly, before they realize what's happening. Kai didn't fit. The airlock was designed for Xylothians who were tall and thin but not massive. Kai was the size of a small car. The opening was maybe half that. Kai put its head through the airlock. Then one shoulder. Then the other. The metal groaned. The seals creaked. And then, with a sound like a ship breaking in half, Kai forced its way inside. The airlock was ruined. The hull was probably compromised. But they were inside. Mira ran for the cockpit. The ship's engines roared to life. Mira had never flown anything more complicated than a ground car, but the Xylothians had designed their reconnaissance vessels to be idiot-proof. The controls were intuitive, if you knew what the symbols meant, which she did, and the navigation system had a return-to-base function that she'd reprogrammed to point at the Viridian's secret planet. The docking bay doors were opening. Slowly. Too slowly. Come on, Mira muttered. Come on, come on, come on. Alarms were blaring. The remaining Xylothian soldiers were converging on the docking bay, weapons raised, translators screaming orders that no one was following. The doors were halfway open. Mira said, hold on. She punched the throttle. The ship lurched forward. Not smoothly, not gracefully, but fast. Faster than anything that size had a right to move. It shot through the opening doors with inches to spare, the hull scraping against the metal, sparks flying in all directions. And then they were out. Space. Cold and dark and endless. The dead star hung in the distance, a gray smear against the black. Behind them, the hand of vengeance grew smaller and smaller, until it was just a speck, until it was nothing at all. Mira let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. We did it, she said. Kai, we did it. There was no response. Mira turned. Kai was curled up in the cargo hold, which was really just a slightly larger compartment behind the cockpit, designed for storage, not passengers. The karate's massive body barely fit. Its scales scraped against the walls every time the ship shuddered. Its tail was wrapped around its own body, tight like it was holding itself together. No answer. Mira unbuckled her harness and crawled into the cargo hold. The space was small and dark and smelled of ozone and blood. Kai's blood. The wounds from the battle, the ones that had been healing, were bleeding again, reopened by the violent escape. Kai, talk to me. Scared, Kai said. The word was small. Smaller than anything that size should be able to produce. Scared. Never been outside. Always cage. Always cell. Always hurt. Mira sat down next to Kai's head. The same way she'd done in the cell. The same gentle presence. The same open hands. I know, she said. I know. But this isn't a cage. This is a ship. It's taking us somewhere safe. Somewhere no one can hurt you. Don't know safe. Yeah. Myra's throat tightened. I know you don't. But you will. I promise. You'll learn. Kai made that sound again. The sob. The broken thing that shouldn't have been able to exist in a creature built for war. Mira put her hand on Kai's snout. The scales were warm. The breath was hot. The heart beneath was beating too fast. A terrified rhythm that matched her own. It's okay, she whispered. It's okay. You're not alone. You're never going to be alone again. Kai's eyes closed. All three of them. And for the first time in its life, the most dangerous thing in the galaxy fell asleep without being afraid. 3 weeks. The ship's autopilot handled the navigation. Mira spent the time learning how to read the Xylothian medical logs, learning how to treat Kai's wounds, learning how to communicate in something deeper than words. Kai learned too. It learned that Myra's voice meant safety. That food didn't have to be earned through pain. That sleep didn't have to be interrupted by guards and needles and the screams of the dying. It learned to dream. Mira didn't know what Kai dreamed about. The karate didn't have the vocabulary to describe it. But sometimes in the dark of the cargo hold, Kai would make sounds, soft sounds, almost musical, and its tail would uncurl and its scales would relax, and it would look for the first time almost peaceful. Tell me about your world, Kai said one day. They were 2 days out from the Viridian planet. The ship's sensors had picked up an atmosphere, oceans, forests, everything Mira had hoped for. Earth? Mira was sitting in the cockpit, watching the stars streak by. What do you want to know? Everything. Mira laughed. That's a lot. Earth it's messy, complicated, beautiful, and terrible, and everything in between. We've got oceans that cover most of the planet, and mountains that touch the sky, and deserts that haven't seen rain in 10,000 years. We've got animals that fly, and animals that swim, and animals that dig holes in the ground, and pretend the rest of the world doesn't exist. Kai's head tilted. Animals. Creatures. Like you. Well, not like you. Smaller. Less scary. Most of them, anyway. Scary. Yeah. We got things that'll kill you if you're not careful. Bears. Sharks. Mosquitoes. Mira shuddered. I hate mosquitoes. Kai made a sound that might have been a laugh. Mosquitoes. Small. Tiny. But they carry diseases. And they buzz in your ear when you're trying to sleep. Kill them. No. Well, sometimes. But mostly we just complain about them. It's kind of our thing. Complaining. Kai processed that. Its tail curled at the tip. That gesture Mira had learned meant curiosity. Your people. Weak. Soft. Complain. Pause. But Xylothian's afraid. Yeah. Mira leaned back in her chair. That's the funny thing, isn't it? The Xylothians conquered 14 civilizations. They've got weapons that can crack planets. They got soldiers bred for nothing but war. And they're afraid of a bunch of soft, squishy primates who haven't even figured out how to leave their own solar system. Why? Mira was quiet for a long time. The stars streaked by. The ship hummed. Because we're stubborn, she said finally. Because we don't know when to quit. Because we'll look a monster in the eye and see a friend. Because we'll take something that was bred for destruction and teach it how to love. She looked at Kai, those 3 amber eyes, watching her. Because we're not afraid to be kind, she said. and that scares them more than any weapon ever could. The planet was beautiful. Mira had seen pictures of the Viridian world, the one the Xylothians had conquered, the one where the last of that ancient species had made their final stand. But this was different. This was untouched, unspoiled, a world that had never known war, never known conquest, never known the touch of a species that saw everything as a tool or an enemy. The forests were green, not the green of Earth, but a deeper, richer shade, almost blue in certain lights. The oceans were turquoise, the mountains were purple with some kind of mineral deposit, and the sky was the color of a bruise shot through with ribbons of gold. Kai stepped out of the ship and froze. Mira watched from the airlock. She'd expected this. She'd prepared for it. But seeing the most dangerous thing in the galaxy, standing in the grass, trembling, unable to move, broke something in her chest. No answer. Kai, it's okay. You can move. You can walk. You can run if you want. There's no one here to hurt you. Kai's head turned. Those amber eyes, 3 of them now, the 4th still healing, were wide. Wider than Mira had ever seen them. Big, Kai said. So big. Yeah. Mira stepped out of the ship onto the grass. The blades were soft beneath her boots. The air smelled like flowers and rain and something else, something ancient and clean. It's a whole world, Kai. Yours, if you want it. Kai took a step. Then another. Then it was running, not fast, not aggressive, but awkward and uncertain, like a baby animal learning to use its leg for the first time. The grass parted around it. The wind caught its scales. And for the first time in its life, the karate made a sound that wasn't pain or fear or rage. It laughed. Mira watched it run, watched it stumble and fall and get back up, watched it roll in the grass like a dog, like a child, like something that had finally remembered what it felt like to be alive. And she cried. Not because she was sad, not because she was scared, because she had done something impossible. She had taken a beast bred for destruction and shown it another way. She had looked into the eyes of a monster and seen a soul. The Xylothians would come. Eventually, they wouldn't forget what had happened on the Hand of Vengeance. They wouldn't forgive the loss of their greatest weapon. They would hunt them across the galaxy, across the centuries, across all the dark spaces between the stars. But not today. Today there was only this. A girl from a planet that didn't matter. A creature that wasn't supposed to exist. And a world that had never known war, waiting for them with open arms. Kai came back to her, breathless, happy, those amber eyes shining. Together, it said. Mira smiled. Together. The Xylothian High Command received the report 3 weeks later. The Hand of Vengeance had been repaired. The dead were being mourned, or at least they were being counted, which was the closest the Xylothians came to mourning. The investigation into the karate's escape had concluded that the specimen had been compromised by outside influence, specifically by a human. The report sat on the desk of the High Commander for a long time. He read it once, twice, 3 times. Each time, his mandibles clicked faster. Anthropologist Mira, he said finally, from Earth. Yes, Commander. The aide's translator hummed. Our intelligence suggests she was acting alone. There is no evidence of a larger conspiracy. The commander was quiet. Then he laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. A single human, he said, from a pre-contact world, with no weapons, no allies, no training. And she stole our greatest weapon. She turned it against us. She made it gentle. Yes, Commander. The commander stood up, walked to the window, stared out at the dead star that had been the Hand of Vengeance's companion for so many years. Send a message to the fleet, he said. Earth is no longer classified as pre-contact. Reclassify it as unpredictable. Unpredictable, Commander? Yes. The commander's mandibles clicked. And tell the troops to stay away from it. The humans, I suspect, are more dangerous than we ever imagined. He turned away from the window. A beast bred for destruction, he muttered. And they taught it to be kind. He did not sleep well that night.